Thank you, everybody, for coming today. We are excited to uh, announce that we are going to um, uh, be, we have Tracy Koga today talking about our benefits. Luckily, we're not making a whole lot of changes. There will be some changes that Tracy will go through, but it's a good refresher for everyone. So with that, I'd like to introduce Tracy Koga from Alliant to go through our benefits. Thank you.
That's great. Thank you so much, Mark. And again, thanks everybody for joining today. We'll just hop right in. So, as Mark had mentioned, we are here talking about benefits, and we're here talking about benefits today because this is your open enrollment season. Open enrollment will run from today through December 10th. And remember that open enrollment is your opportunity to make changes to the way that you're enrolled in benefits for no particular reason other than you just want to. And that can include things like switching to a different medical plan, adding or dropping coverage for yourself or for dependents. And then for those of you that are making contributions to that health savings account, also a great opportunity to review and adjust those contributions for the coming year. A quick reminder of who is eligible for benefit here through Pacific Plumbing Supply. Of course, you are regular employees who are working 30 hours or more per week. If you happen to not quite be working 30 hours and are on a variable schedule, it may be possible for you to enroll in benefits at some time. So it'll be a good opportunity to kind of review some of that information that's in the benefits guide to see if that might apply to you. Not only yourself are eligible to enroll, but your dependents are eligible to enroll, and that includes your married spouse, your children up to the age of 26, and that is regardless of student status or work status. As long as that child is under the age of 26, they can enroll in the plan here. And then any child that's over 26 and is disabled or children that are named in a support order can also be enrolled on benefit. Now, while we're here talking about open enrollment, it's also a good opportunity for me to remind you that throughout the year, if certain things happen, you can certainly change the way that you're enrolled in benefit right at that time. And those things are considered qualifying life events. So that includes things like a change in your marital status or a change in the number of dependents that are in your family. As things like this happen throughout the year, you can absolutely make changes to your enrollment right at that time. You just need to let your HR team know within 30 days of the event, and they'll be able to allow you to make those enrollment changes. Outside of that, this is really your opportunity to enroll in benefits. So, any benefit elections or changes that you make during this open enrollment period will lock you in for the 2022 calendar year. So, thinking about next year and what's happening with benefits, a very quick summary. Those first two bullets indicating that your insurance carriers and your benefits will continue as you know them today. So, Premera Blue Cross will continue as your medical and dental insurer, and the benefits that come along with that will all stay the same. We will see a cost of coverage change, which we will review shortly. There's also going to be an adjustment in the wellness incentives to allow you to lower your premium cost share as much as possible. There will be an option for a zero cost share plan if you participate in those wellness incentives with some specific benefit plans. So we'll review that as well. A couple of housekeeping things to get into before we dive deep into benefits. The very first thing is understanding how to make changes during this enrollment period. Open enrollment this year is what we call a passive enrollment, which simply means that if you're perfectly happy with the way that you're enrolled and there's no change that you need to make, all of your existing benefits will follow you into 2022. There's nothing you need to do. However, if you are making changes, such as changing who's being covered, perhaps switching between plans, or making any other adjustments to your benefit setup, all of those changes must be actively made this year before the close of open enrollment, which is December 10th. Now, we're going to go through benefits today, but beyond today, want to make sure that you have access to additional resources. Of course, you have access to your HR team. There is also a website and mobile app available that's called mybenefits.life. MyBenefits.life is intended to take all of this information, summarize it into documents, have a list of contacts there available for you. So you'd have phone numbers for Primera Blue Cross in there as well. So just a way to access the information throughout the year. You can visit that on web at pacificplumbing.mybenefits.life, or if you prefer to download an app, you can certainly do that as well. That app is called mybenefits.life. In either case, you'll be asked to enter an employer key, and that is PPSC. Now, you also have access to a team of benefit advocates that sit in my office here at Alliant. Those benefit advocates are benefit professionals that are available to help you with questions about your benefits, help you make some decisions if you're trying to decide which benefit to enroll in, but also to help do some research for you if you have questions or concerns about the way a claim is paid in the future. You can reach that team by email or by phone. They are available Monday through Friday, 5 a.m. to 5 p.m. Pacific time. I will take a moment to note that we know that there are a high volume of inquiries coming in here between now and the end of the year, just across all of the customers that we work with. So if you do have an urgent need, it is best to contact the advocate system by phone, not by email at this time. You may also find that some of your inquiries, perhaps it's finding an in network doctor, or if you've lost an ID card and you need a reprint of an ID card, those are great opportunities to actually reach out to Primera directly to get quicker resolution to those kinds of issues. But those advocates are certainly there for you and will continue to be there for you throughout 2022. Right. Now, shifting gear into medical and dental coverage, you'll see on your screen here that you do still have access to two medical plans, both through Primera, that 2500 HDHP as well as the 3500 HDHP. And you also have access to that Primera dental plan. Now, before we get too detailed into the benefit summaries, I want to take a moment and just review some terms and definitions that pop up often as we're talking about insurance. So, very first on that list is the word that's coinsurance. Remember, coinsurance is often presented in the form of a percentage and describes the cost of healthcare or your share, excuse me, of the cost of healthcare visits or services. A copayment is a flat fee that you'll pay for some services, most notably prescription drugs, where those copayments are often asked of you before you leave the doctor's office or before you leave the pharmacy. The deductible is the amount that I'll have to pay out of my own pocket for any given expense before the plan starts to share in the cost of service. So we'll see a lot in the coming slides that the plan will pay a percentage after deductible. It simply is my portion to pay before the plan starts to share in that cost with me. And then that last statement there for out of pocket maximum. Remember, you do have that financial protection. That's the most that you will pay out of your own pocket in any given calendar year, after which time the plan will pay 100% of the rest of your charges for the rest of that calendar year. Some good terms to remember. And there's two additional terms to keep in mind for those of you that have family members enrolled. So that's one dependent or 10 dependents. It's important that you understand the difference between aggregated versus embedded. And again, these are for those of you that have any member of your family enrolled on your plans as well. Now, over on the left-hand side, we see an image and some statements about an aggregate plan. Your Primera $2,500 HDHP is an aggregate family plan. That simply means as we start talking about deductibles, I'm going to have you pay attention to the family deductible, which is $5,000 on that plan. The plan will share in the cost of service after that $5,000 family deductible is met. And that deductible is paid for by one or all members of the family combined. So in the image that you see on the screen above, Jamie has a $3,500 deductible or expense that needs to get paid. And that 3,500, because it's less than that 5,000 family, those deductibles still need to be paid by the other remaining members of the family. So you can see that Lisa has an expense as well. Once as a family, they pay $5,000 in deductible. Everyone's deductible is considered to be satisfied. So now Anna's expenses are not subject to any deductible expense. Now, different from aggregate is an embedded plan, which you see over on the right-hand side, and your Primera $3,500 plan is an embedded deductible plan. This simply means that the plan will pay for each individual after that person has met their own individual deductible. So each person has their own individual deductible to meet, and that's capped at a family amount. So in this example, we still see Jamie with that $3,500 expense. That's their own individual deductible that has now been met. Jamie no longer has a deductible to pay. Lisa, however, still has a deductible to pay because Lisa has to get up to $3,500 on her own. Now, once as a family combined, everyone pays up to $7,000, right? So that's individual capped at $7,000 per family. Once that happens, then everyone's expense for deductibles will have considered to have been met. Now, there's a note down on the left-hand corner that both plans have an aggregated out-of-pocket maximum. So we'll talk about that in a little bit more detail as we review the plans specifically. And we'll start off with that Primera $2,500 HDHP or that high option plan. Again, benefits available through Primera. You see two columns here, in and out of network. You're going to get the best benefit when you're able to stay in network, which is Primera's Heritage Plus network. So we'll start right at the top of the page, and I am going to focus our conversation on those in-network benefits. But right at top, we see that annual deductible. Again, if it's just me enrolling in this plan, I have a $2,500 deductible for myself. If I have family enrolled, that's 1 or 10 dependents, it's that $5,000 family aggregate deductible that we've got to be paying attention to. Now, any money that I spend out of my own pocket will be capped at an annual out of pocket maximum. That's that financial protection we have in any given year. This is going to be for just myself, 5,100. For my family, if I have a family member enrolled, it's that 7,150 number that will matter for my out of pocket maximum. Now, as you take your eye down the rest of that column, you'll see that for most services, the plan will pay 80% for me after I've paid my deductible amount. And that's true for diagnostic lab and x ray, urgent care, emergent care, and hospitalization as well. Chiropractic care is noted in that way. Keep in mind that you do have up to 12 visits per calendar year for chiropractic care. If I need 13 visits, I'll just need to pay for visit 13 out of my own pocket. Preventive care is always covered at 100%. That's regardless of if you're in or out of network. So, we encourage you to get those preventive care checkups. And as we talk a little bit further about those incentives to help get you the best premium available, getting that preventive exam is part of that. So, definitely keeping in mind that those preventive care services are covered at 100% by the plan. Now, vision services are included in your medical plan. You can see that on the very bottom row. You have one exam covered once per calendar year, and then you have up to $150 available in allowance for picking up frames, hardware, glasses, or contacts. Now, when you enroll in the Primera 2,500 plan, you're automatically getting prescription drug benefits. Remember, the way that these plans work is all services, including prescription drugs, are first subject to that medical deductible. So if I pick up my medication on January 2nd, that's the first thing that I do under the plan. My pharmacist is going to ask me to pay 100% of the cost of that drug simply because I haven't paid anything towards my deductible yet. After I've paid my deductible for prescription drugs, the plan will pay 80% of those charges for the remainder of that. And again, my out of pocket maximum still comes into play, so I do still have that financial protection. When I pick up that medication at a retail pharmacy, I can get up to a 30-day supply, but you always have the opportunity to purchase via mail order and get a 90-day supply delivered directly to your home. So, switching over to that Primera $3,500 high deductible health plan option, very similar setup. Again, through Primera, you're seeing both in and out of network benefits. We'll focus on the in network benefits for our conversation today. We still have that annual deductible right up front. The difference here is this is a per person deductible that's capped at a family level. So it's $3,500 per individual enrolled in the plan, capped at a maximum of $7,000 for my family in full. That out of pocket maximum is still here. That's that financial protection. Here, this is $5,100 for just myself. But if I have a full family involved, that's going to be $7,150 for our family out of pocket maximum. Similar to the other plan, we're seeing that most services that the plan will pay 80% after I've paid my deductible. You still see that 12 visit per calendar year limitation on chiropractic services. And again, preventive care services covered at 100%, regardless of if you're in or out of network. Again, vision benefits here included as part of the plan with one exam per calendar year and up to $150 allowance for any hardware. Now, with the Primera 3500 plan, you also get prescription drug coverage. Again, everything is subject to that deductible first, including prescription drugs. So, as soon as I pay my medical my medical deductible, then the plan will start to pay 80% of the cost of my medications for me for the rest of that year. Again, 30 days available at the retail pharmacy or 90 days available if I choose to order by mail order. Now, because a lot of these expenses are first going towards my deductible, I want to do everything that I can to make my healthcare dollars stretch as far as they possibly can. So keep in mind that you have a lot of opportunities to get care, whether it's using a nurse line, using those online visits, all the way up to urgent care and emergency room services. Now, certainly, each service is appropriate for a different type of thing, but you may find that you're getting what you need from simply calling a nurse on the nurse line instead of actually going into the doctor's office for an office visit. And that nurse line has zero cost to you. So, just a good reminder that there are a lot of different ways to access care. And if those situations are appropriate, could do that in a way that costs me less out of my own pocket. Now, similarly, there are things that are alternative facilities. So, occasionally, you may find yourself needing a planned surgery, perhaps an MRI that needs to get done. And traditionally, providers have you do those things in a hospital setting. But there are a variety of different services that can be done at alternative facilities that are not in the hospital. And you're getting the exact same service and the exact same outcomes, but they're coming at a lower out of pocket cost to you. So, for example, I may be scheduled for a very quick outpatient same day surgery that, under normal circumstances, my doctor may have asked me to come to the hospital to do in an outpatient setting. But if I have access to an ambulatory surgery center in my area, the cost of that exact same procedure could be significantly less in that surgical center instead of at the hospital. So, certainly good opportunities to have conversations with your doctors about to see if there are alternative places that you can get these services done. Preventive care, remember, covered in full while you are in network. Preventive care includes all of those annual exams that are intended to help keep you healthy. So on your screen, you're seeing a list of some typical screenings for adults and then some very specific screenings for women and for men as well. Now, when those services are preventive in nature, they are covered in full by the plan. Occasionally, doctors may ask you to get some additional tests done that are not considered preventive in nature. If that does happen, it is probable that you'll get a bill in the mail a couple of weeks later for that single test that did not qualify as preventive. So just keep that in mind. If you are getting an annual exam scheduled and are curious about what is covered as preventive care, it's a great opportunity to contact Primera and ask them to send you over a list of those preventive care services. Now, with prescription drugs, remember that while all medications that you pick up, whether it's at retail pharmacy or via mail order, they'll first be subject to that medical deductible. Those drugs do cost differently depending on the type of medication they are. So, generic drugs continue to be the lowest cost medications available, with brand name drugs right behind. And then finally, those specialty drugs are quite more expensive. Each one of those medications has the right, uh, each one of those medications are treating different conditions. And it's just a great opportunity to have a conversation with your doctor to see if there might be an alternative medication at a lower cost that would work just as well for you. Right. Now, as in years past, Pacific Plumbing is making money available to you when you enroll in your medical benefits, and those dollars are there intended to help pay down some of those deductible expenses. Those dollars come to you in two different types of accounts. So we'll start off by talking about that health savings account. The health savings account is administered by Optum Bank. It's been your administrator for a couple of years and will continue next year as well. Remember, with this health savings account, this is a personal savings account intended for healthcare expenses. So the funds belong to you. The way that you can spend those dollars are on things like office visits, prescription drugs, anything that's subject to your deductible, medical expenses, dental and vision expenses as well. You can make contributions to this account on a tax free basis. And when you're spending those dollars on qualified medical expenses, they are also tax free. You can spend those dollars on yourself, your spouse, or your tax dependent children, even if they are not enrolled in benefit here. So, always a good opportunity to spend those dollars on, on healthcare expenses. If you do have a balance in the account, that balance has an unlimited rollover. So, those dollars will never deplete unless you're spending them. And then some have the opportunity to have some extra savings in there. So before the age of 65, you want to make sure that you're spending those dollars on qualified healthcare expenses to not only avoid taxation, but also to avoid penalty. After you turn 65, however, you can continue to use those dollars for healthcare expenses, but you can also use them on regular living expenses penalty free. So, a great opportunity there as well. Now, as in the past, Pacific Plumbing will contribute money to this account for you to help you save. For 2022, Pacific Plumbing will contribute $1,000 across the year into that health savings account for you. And contributions are prorated on a per paycheck basis, so it'll slowly accrue over the course of the year. You can make additional contributions on top of that, again, to take that tax savings. The IRS does set an annual contribution limit, which is any dollars that you're contributing plus the dollars that Pacific Plumbing is contributing as well. So that total IRS contribution limit for those of you enrolling just yourselves is $36.50 for 2022. For those of you with family members enrolled, that's $7,300 for 2022. In the year that I turn 55 and every year thereafter, I can contribute an additional $1,000 on a tax free basis into that account. Now, because the health savings account is really a tax sheltered opportunity to save for healthcare expenses, the IRS has some rules that we need to follow. To be eligible to open and contribute to a health savings account, you must be enrolled in a medical plan that's called a high deductible health plan. Both of your options through Pacific Plumbing count as that kind of plan. You cannot have a medical flexible spending account. And that's mostly important for those of you that maybe have spouses that work for employers that offer that medical FSA. If your spouse has enrolled in a medical FSA, you will not be able to open or contribute to that health savings account. You cannot be claimed as a dependent on someone else's tax return. cannot be enrolled in Medicare, Medicaid, or TRICARE, and you cannot be enrolled in any other non qualified high deductible health plan. Those last two bullet points, it's important that I point out that it's enrollment that matters. If you are eligible for other benefits but have not enrolled, that's perfectly fine. But as soon as you enroll in Medicare or perhaps enroll in any other non qualified health plan, that will interfere with your ability to open and contribute to these health savings accounts. Now, in addition to the health savings account, there is money being put aside into a health reimbursement arrangement or an HRA. Again, these are also dollars intended to be there to help you pay for your medical expenses. The HRA is administered by Optum. They're formerly known as Connect Your Care. Optum purchased Connect Your Care in the middle of 2021. Now, with the HRA, again, these dollars are there to help you pay for your healthcare expenses. These funds are available to use for the last portions of your medical deductible. So you will still have a portion of that deductible to pay out of your own pocket. You can use your health savings accounts dollars to help that. This HRA is there for the last portions of your medical deductible. Keep in mind that any unused HRA balances do expire. However, new balances are refreshed and made available at the beginning of every calendar year. These accounts are funded entirely by Pacific Plumbing. If you're enrolled just as yourselves, $1,000 will be in that account for you. And for those of you enrolled with families, $2,000 will be in that account for you. Now, as in the past, Optum will work with Primera to automatically review and pay those eligible expenses from your HRA directly. So, Primera is going to get that claim from your doctor's office. They're going to look and see how much of your deductible you might have to pay. But before they make their final determination, they're going to take a look to see if you have any money in your HRA, as long as it's for those last portions of that deductible. Medical payments will be made directly to your provider, while pharmacy payments are going to be made to you. What that means, though, is that when you pick up your medications, you'll have to pay out of pocket for those expenses and then get reimbursed later from the HRA directly to you. And shifting gears a bit to dental coverage, again, that dental plan will continue through Primera in 2022. The dental benefit covers three types of care: preventive, basic care, as well as major care services. Now, with that Primera dental plan, you will still get the best benefit when you're able to stay in network, but you do see that there is a separate dental annual deductible that's $50 per individual enrolled in the plan, capped at $150 per family. Primera's dental plan will pay up to $2,000 on your behalf or any enrolled person's behalf for those dental services. Diagnostic and preventive services that include your annual exams and cleanings, those are covered at 100%. Basic services are covered at 80% after you've paid that deductible amount, and then major services covered at 50%. And that dental deductible is separate from the medical deductible, so they are not combined in any way. It's a separate $50 per individual for dental. So, a couple of other benefits available to you. We'll review some life insurance as well as some voluntary benefits as well. Whereas life insurance does provide for family members after loss, and everyone is already enrolled in a basic life insurance policy that's fully paid for by Pacific Plumbing. Should something happen to you, your beneficiary will receive a benefit of $15,000. While there's no requirement for you to go through open enrollment to make any changes, if you're perfectly happy, this is a great opportunity to also review your beneficiary designation, make sure that information is up to date. Now, with that basic life insurance, you can purchase additional coverage as well. So you can purchase additional voluntary life insurance as well as some added benefits through AFLAC. But with that voluntary life insurance, you can purchase coverage for yourself, for your spouse, or for your children, Keep in mind that if you do want coverage for your spouse or for your children, you must purchase coverage for yourself first. You can see that you can purchase up to maximum amounts for yourself or your family. There's a note here on the bottom of the screen that says if you are currently enrolled in the voluntary life coverage policy, you do have the opportunity of increasing your benefit by $10,000 without evidence of insurability. So that's an automatic approval if you'd like to raise your voluntary life insurance election by $10,000. For any of you that may be looking to purchase this coverage new this time around, you can certainly submit that application. You will need to also complete an evidence of insurability form, which is a light health questionnaire that the insurance carrier has to receive, review, and approve before that additional voluntary life insurance coverage is available. Now, also, as in the past, you have the opportunity to purchase AFLAC coverage as well. That includes accident, cancer care, critical illness, or hospital indemnity coverage. Those of you that have done this or have talked with Mary in the past, Mary Holcomb is there to talk you through some of those AFLAC benefits, and you can reach out to her by email or by phone. I think Mary's online as well. Mary, I might turn it over to you to share some thoughts about that AFLAC coverage.
Sure. So Mark will be sending out an email to you with a website that has all the brochures and rates and everything on there that you need to get a better understanding of what all the benefits are. I would encourage you, if you have AFLAC benefits, give me a call and let's review what you have. Make sure that your coverage is still viable and that it makes sense for what you have, or if you want to make any changes, or if you'd like to enroll, you can either give me a call or send me an email and we can schedule a one-on-one appointment between now and December 10th. And also, we are doing the Trustmark benefits, so they are not doing it in open enrollment this year. But if you have any questions, please don't hesitate to give me a call or send me an email regarding that as well, and I'm happy to review all those things for you. Yeah, so that's all I have today. And as I mentioned, if you do have interest in any of the AFLAC plans, do take a look at the website or give me a call, and I'm happy to go over all the benefits and why you may be interested in enrolling in those benefits.
Thank you very much, Mary. So in addition to all the benefits that we just reviewed, I want to take a moment to remind you about that retirement plan, which is the 401k that is available through Voya. So you have the opportunity to contribute up to 100% of your pay to that IRS limit. And for 2022, that contribution limit is $20,500. That 401k does include a company match up to 5% of your pay. You are eligible to enroll the first of the month following 90 days of employment. Keep in mind that you are going to be automatically enrolled at 3%. So if you want that enrollment level at a different percentage amount, you must log into that Voya account, to make those contribution adjustments. You can see the login for the Voya Retirement Plans account as well as the contract number, which you'll need to access that information. Well, taking a moment to remind you of the Employee Assistance Program, and then we'll talk a little bit about the wellness opportunities in order to get some incentives and on your premium payments. So we'll start off with that EAP or Employee Assistance Program that's been there in the past and will continue in 2022 through Magellan. This Employee Assistance Program is actually free for you as well as your household members, and there's a variety of different resources that the EAP can provide. You have access here to counselors either over the phone, through video chat, or through in person counseling sessions. If you do decide to do in person or video counseling for some of the issues, up to 3 of those visits will be considered covered in full by that EAP. So, really good resource to use. You can contact the EAP by phone or by their website, which you can see on the screen here. So, a quick touch on the wellness program as we step into 2022. As some of you may have experienced in the past or have done in the past, wellness programs are really a way to try and help encourage everyone to take as best care of themselves as possible. For 2022, this voluntary wellness program will include both an annual physical as well as COVID vaccinations. So, again, this is completely voluntary um, to you if you do decide to get your annual physical or to be vaccinated for COVID. There will be an opportunity to have a lower cost on your insurance premiums, and I'll show you what those are here in just a moment. So as we move into the cost for insurance of 2022, you're going to see a lot of numbers here on this page. But really what we're looking at is number one, thinking about who you're going to have enrolled, if it's just yourself, if you'll add your spouse, your children, or your entire family. Then in the medical section, you're going to see a couple of different options here. You have two medical choices, that $3,500 or the $2,500 HDHP plan. The difference between the options here, though, are that wellness incentive. So the very first 2 rows is the non wellness. So for folks that are not interested in participating in the wellness program, that's no problem. And you can see what your monthly medical costs would be depending on which plan you enroll in. The second 2 columns say wellness plus vax. Wellness plus vax means that you are getting your annual physical and that you are fully vaccinated for COVID-19. If you do have both of those things, then you can see that you have an opportunity to get a zero cost option for yourself only on that $3,500 HDHP plan. Now, for those of you that are not interested in getting vaccinated for COVID-19, but will go ahead and get that annual physical, those are those last 2 rows there that if you're able to get just that physical, you are getting some financial benefit for that as well, with a little bit of a discount to those premiums. Now, the dental plan, there's just one dental plan to elect. So here we've got non wellness, or those of you that are going to go ahead and do that physical for that wellness program, you can see how your rates would change for that participation. And we'll round the conversation out here finally with an enrollment checklist. So remember that this is a passive enrollment, which means if you're perfectly happy with the way that you're enrolled in benefits, there's nothing that you need to do. However, if you will be making changes, perhaps dropping coverage or adding coverage for a dependent or switching between medical plans, if you will be enrolling in any voluntary coverages or making changes to your health savings account contributions, those types of activities will require active enrollment through this open enrollment period. There will be a benefit checklist up in Paycom today for you to review so it can help walk you through the actions that you'll need to take through this open enrollment period. Any changes that you need to take must be completed and submitted in before the end of open enrollment, which is December 10th. And that concludes the content of our conversation today. I'm going to go back one slide to kind of hover over those medical costs. But if you have any questions that any of us can address, please feel free.
Thank you, Tracy. Yeah, if anybody has any questions, you can ask those now, or you can ask those of myself or Susie Croucher offline. But yeah, wanted to give you all a chance to ask any questions you might have. Well, doesn't seem like there are any questions. So With that, I have actually just sent out the checklist for open enrollment through Paycom. So you should see that in your checklists and your employee self-serve in Paycom. If anybody has any questions, like I said, feel free to reach out. I want to give a special thank you to Tracy Koga and Alliant for helping put this together. And with that, want to thank everyone for their time.
Thanks, everyone.